Now audio is being picked up. Yeah, there we go. Hello, Dianea. Long time no see. Uh, did I do this joke every single time? Yes, I did. And it was funny every single time. Okay. The final stretch. Yes, indeed. It is. Let me check to see if my window's open. Not open. Good. I want to be yelling at the top of my voice. Yeah, whatever. All right. I guess let us begin. See where we're at. The beginning of the end. All right. Sounds good. I don't know what to call you. Lou, I guess? Sounds good. Okay, wait. Matsuribayashi. At least let it end with a blissful dream. Festival, accompanying chapter. The riddle you've been entrusted with solving now finally becomes unraveled. What must be done to stop the chain? What will happen in the ultimate end? The showdown between the conclusion. Might be a bot, I don't know. This is a... I don't know. Yeah, what happened? It's a showdown between the conclusion you reach, and that's the one I reached. There's no difficulty. You should understand that now. Yeah, it's a very... I guess we'll see what happens, Dianea. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is accepting that. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is fulfilling that. I, too, am entitled to happiness. The difficult part, working out a compromise. Frederica Berncastel. This is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual persons or organizations is entirely accidental. Whoa. We've never seen this scene before. The study was filled with piles of books and papers. In that study, there's a full-figured old man writing something at his desk in utmost concentration. There's also a little girl sorting out papers in the carpet. She almost looked as though she was playing with them. But the serious expression she was wearing made it clear that she wasn't.
おじいちゃん、資料の分けっこができたよ。
Miyoko.
ありがと
Hifumi. Have we heard the name Hifumi before?
う。さてさて、どういう結果になったかな？
同じ症例の人がこれだけ集まった。全国平均と比べても明らかに異常なくらい。
やはりな。こっちも興味深い論文を見つけたところだ。精神外科と文化についてまとめたものでな。前頭葉に宿主とは別の意志を持った存在があることを予見したも
There's
の
an
だ。
intriguing treatise over here. It discusses psychosurgery and civilization. It also predicts the existence of parasites that inhabit the frontal lobe.
前頭葉は人間が人間らしくあることを司る部分だよね。
そうだ。人の感情は心が生み出すのではない。脳という名の器官が分泌物を生み出して与える副産物に過ぎ。
Okay. We're going into a psychology lesson, I guess?
その脳に特定の干渉をするナノ単位の生命体の集合が存在し、ある命令系統を持つ一つのコロニーに関与したならば。
So are parasites the cause of the spread of ideology? When ideologies clash, is that because different parasites are competing to expand their habitat?
あるいは教育の分布か、国境の分布か、人種の分布か。我々の世界の異なる文化コミュニティの存在と、その対立の一因は、そういった人の思想に影響を及ぼす微細な生命体の存在にあると仮定している。
Huh. Okay.
おじいちゃんと同じことを考えている人が外国にもいたんだね。
もちろんいるとも。可視不可視を問わず、地球上には無数の生命体がいて、その中には宿主の体内に潜伏して共存し、時には宿主を支配したりすることが広く知られている。そして実際に人体内にその存在をたくさん発見してもいる。にもかかわらず、人体に潜伏し、その宿主を支配する生命体の存在については頑なに否定してきた。家庭すらも含めてな。
どうしてだろうね。人間だけ特別な存在のわけはないのに。
それを仮定することはすなわち、
This is a
意
lot
志
of
に基
information
づ
to
いた
take in
言
right
動や
now.
信念を疫学的原因から派生したものと置き換えられて、対処策もそれと同様とみなされる危険があるからだ。
Spread of ideologies from the perspective of epidemiology. Okay. So they're just talking about the hypothesis of parasites right now. They're not saying it like is a thing. Oh no, we adamantly deny the possibility. Okay. It conflicts in ideology. Can be resolved through debate, then they're peaceful. But if those conflicts occur epidemically, they become frightening. And if one were to treat bad thoughts or the spread of culture as an epidemic?
中世の歴史に登場するペストなどを想像しなさい。悪い伝染病が大流行する。その患者を強制的に入院させ、完治するまで退院させない。完治できず、そのまま病院で死んでしまうこともある。すると、その死体は焦燥となる。さらに、患者が触れたものまで衛生のため、すべて没収して焼き捨てる。身近の家族にも感染の疑いがあるから、強制的に入院させねばならん。
They'd hospitalize healthy people over. Why do they not have a lot of their voices? They'd hospitalize healthy people over individual ideas.
思想を病気と置き
I
換えなさい。
guess. Maybe the way I could see it is like because the voice acting is in Japanese, right? And in Japanese, it might make sense to go from one to the other to the other to the other. But like maybe in English, you need like a separate dialogue or a separate like piece of text to, how do you say, make it make sense. The rest is the same.
完治するまで退院させない。触れたものは感染の疑いがあるから全て焼き捨てる。家族にも感染の疑いがあるから強制入院。
でも、思想なんて個人の自由なんでしょ？ペストとは違う。
If an idea was created by parasites, it would be exactly the same as a plague.
つまり、思想は治療不可能な伝染病と置き換えられるわけだ。
So you mean anyone with a different idea is treated like they have a disease?
そういうことだ。この考えを延長すると、無差別、そして無秩序な大量虐殺が起こる。そうすると、人類は大規模な粛清を肯定してしまう論調になりかねん。だから、脳内で宿主を支配する生命体を語ることは、今の時代ではタブーになっているのだ。
タブーって？
触れてはならない。だから誰も研究せん。いや、それどころか、脳内に侵入し、影響を及ぼす存在がいると考えることすら忘れられている。万物の長たる霊長類を支配する未知の生命体などいるはずがないと、頭から決めつけている。
なんだかお粗末な話。いないことの証明なんて悪魔の証明。絶対に不可能なのに。
How can they prove something that doesn't Can they prove something doesn't exist? Yes, that's fair.
その通り。悪魔がいることを証明することはたやすい。悪魔を連れてくればいいのだからな。だが、いないことを証明することはできん。いないを連れてくることなどできんのだからな。
If you can't prove you can't show. Okay.
なんだか脳を支配する生命体が自分たちの存在を秘密にするためにその宿主の人間たちを操っているみたい。
Me and my grandfather shared a happy laugh together.
人間も自然界の生き物の一つに過ぎ。
Is that Takano's? Like name? Okay, sounds good, William. <clears throat>
食物連鎖の頂点にいるだけで、それをもって神格化された存在であると思い込むなど愚かしいことなのだ。人とてあらゆる微生物やウイルスに支配されうるのだ。その存在が今日まで発見されていないからといって、それをもって存在しないという証拠にはならん。絶対に存在する。必ず存在するのだ。
科学の世界にもたくさん存在が仮定されていて、そのずっと未来にそれが証明されたものがあるんだもんね。
そうだ。それらの仮定をした科学者が全て生きているうちに評価を受けられたわけではない。
Hello, Rissa. What do you mean your time is up?
世まいごとだと呆れられ、その正しさを証明できなかった科学者も大勢いたのだ。
でもおじいちゃんは生きているうちに証明されるといいね。じゃなかった
What
ら
happened?
おじいちゃんがかわいそう。
大丈夫だよ。神様は努力する者を見捨てたりはしない。
I can't play anything anymore? Why? Why not?
努力は必ずいつか結実するのだ。
いつかってそれはいつ？
神がいつ降臨されるのかは誰も知らない。それは例えるなら、泥棒がいつ訪れるのかわからないように。
Maybe that's why Takano was doing whatever, because like grandfather's theory wasn't realized before he dies. The Xbox Game Pass ended. No,
だから、
not the
予期せず
Xbox
してそ
Game
の時を
Pass.
迎えて、
Wait, did it end entirely? I thought it would just like raise in price or something.
不信心であったことに歯ぎしりすることがないよう、常に目を覚ましてい
No
なさい。
Fortnite, no Overwatch, no nothing, no anything. Well, okay, but those games that you listed, they're just free. You can go download them for free if you want to. That was something that my grandfather said all the time. Nobody knows when the efforts will bear fruit. Fortnite's free and Overwatch is free. It'll happen one day. Well, I mean, you can get Fortnite on Epic Games, and you could either download Overwatch from Battle.net, like launcher, or from Steam. They're both free. What do you, I don't know if I can? Well, I mean, you were able to run it before, right? I'm pretty sure Xbox Game Pass, it's not like it, like you still probably have to be able to run it on your computer first. It just allows you to play those games. Your efforts will bear fruit someday. That's what he meant. We're gonna die to help. Okay, sounds good.
でもおじいちゃんが生きているうちに絶対に努力が実る？生きてるうちに認められなかった科学者がたくさんいるのに？
That was such a cruel thing to say. But I didn't mean it to be cruel. I'd seen how hard my grandfather had been working, and I also knew he wouldn't live forever. I just wanted his work to gain recognition before he died. You know of the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Yeah? He was crucified and resurrected after 3 days. You told me about it. How do you think Jesus was resurrected? Didn't he just get up as if he was waking up in the morning? He was buried after his execution. His body was in the ground. Was he in the ground? I thought he was, like, sealed in rock. Like, he was in a cave and sealed off in a tomb. I thought that's what happened, not in the ground. Did he break open the tombstone and crawl like a zombie? No. That wouldn't be called a resurrection. The sinners who killed Jesus imagined exactly the same thing. How can I help? Well, there you go. Just give me a second. I just will go and... There. Okay. I just had to do that. Just need to buy... No, but, what is it? Overwatch and Fortnite are both free. At least those are the games that she was talking about. So she doesn't need Xbox Game Pass to get Overwatch and Fortnite. The sinners buried Jesus, sealed his tomb, and posted guards to watch over it. What Jesus meant was that he wasn't that he would resurrect physically. It meant that his teachings would be resurrected. After 3 days, Jesus' teachings were resurrected, and people regained their belief. The hearts of those who wanted to be shown the proper way revived his teachings. That's what the resurrection of Jesus is all about. He came back. Dude. Why are there so many bots? He came back to life in the hearts of his believers. Jesus doesn't exist physically on this earth, but he exists in people's hearts. In other words, that's when Jesus became an existence superior to humans.
たとえ死後であっても正当な評価を受けられたなら、その偉業は必ずやよみがえる。その時私の体が朽ち果ててしまっていても、私の存在
I'm
はよ
pretty
み
sure
がえ
this
っ
is
て
Takano,
評価を受
who
けるの
this
だ。
and whoever her
そ
grandfather
れはお
is.
じいちゃんが神様になったということ？
そうだよ。私の研究はいつか必ず認められる。その時、おじいちゃんは神様になれるということなんだよ。
Oh, that's what she means when she say that she's become a god, because the research is recognized. But why does committing a massacre realize the research of her grandfather?
だから自分が生きているうちに評価されることに焦る必要はないのだ。その時が訪れるのが私が生きているうちなのか、それは神様にもわからない。だがその日は必ず訪れる。だからその日の訪れを疑うことなく、ひたすらに努力を続けなくてはならないのだよ。
It was very sad to hear my grandfather say that his life would end one day. He wasn't ill and he didn't only have a few years left to live. But set next to the average lifespan, his remaining years didn't look like much. The only person left in my life was my grandfather. So I didn't even want to consider what it would be like with him gone. Grandfather must have remembered that I didn't like to talk about that subject. With a tender smile, he gently patted my
も
head.
ちろんおじいちゃんも自分が生きているうちに研究を認めてもらいたい。だから精一杯頑張るよ。
私もおじいちゃんが世界中の人に褒めてもらえるようにいっぱいいっぱいお手伝いする。
I purposely didn't mention the before you die part. I caught myself before I said it.
ありがとう。嬉しいぞ。
Grandfather smiled in satisfaction. His research wasn't exactly outrageous. He wasn't trying to uncover the mysteries of the universe. He was only searching for the possibility that parasites could be responsible for human behavior. Nothing more than that. Nothing outrageous. It really wasn't a wild idea. We even had some leads. Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone City, that prefecture. The villagers there are possessed by a powerful homesickness. When they are unable to return, they allegedly behave abnormally, as if they are cursed. There are also some bizarre rules in place in the village based on their belief system. When he was working with the military during the war, my grandfather noticed similarities between the people in Hinamizawa and assumed that some kind of existence was responsible for that odd behavior. He'd been researching it ever since then. In the middle of the 20th century, numerous strange diseases were discovered all over Japan. Most of them were caused by infectious parasites, and people started to pay attention to the forgotten field of study. Minecraft Slime 4, but evil! Why are you evil now, Minecraft Slime? Grandfather's research was simply one of those investigations into such diseases. Therefore, he believed it would be published amongst other research and attain recognition soon. But if his research didn't bear fruit before his death, he wanted to continue it. Wanted to continue his research. Grandfather taught me. Resurrection isn't something that happens physically. It's when your life's work is appreciated. That's what he meant by resurrection. That's when you'll become a god. When my grandfather dies, he'll still be with me forever. I wouldn't have to be alone ever again. I drank the evil potion at 3 a.m. Wouldn't it be 4 a.m. since you're Minecraft Slime 4? I will always be with my grandfather. Our works will gain recognition, and we will both become gods, gaining eternal peace. No, okay. Well, what happens when you drink the evil potion? How are you Minecraft Slime 4 but evil? What has changed within you? I will make my grandfather into a god. I will become a god. Therefore, we will be granted eternity. Be together. Forever and ever. But after Takano kills everyone in the village, I don't think that happens though, no? Like, I don't think people talk about the research. I was looking at the key on a keychain. I'm evil now? I can't stop it. So what do you intend to do now that you're evil? The key was labeled hen house, but the lock Eriko was trying to open didn't belong to that door. Dude, why is this so loud? Should have opened effortlessly. At least that's what was supposed to happen. This phaser is so... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why is this one so loud? It didn't open. I noticed beads of sweat forming on Eriko's forehead. He was the one who came up with this idea. It also corrected my typing? In what way did it correct your typing? The evil potion. You're now, like, speaking normally with proper grammar? Eriko was starting to panic. The rest of us started to panic too. This only opens the hen house. Let's stop. Let's go back. Shh. Supposed to be cleaning out the hen house. Never mind. I don't feel like it because I'm evil. Ooh. Minecraft Slime but evil. You're really... I can't think of anything more evil than you. Like, the fact that you are now typing improperly, it's, really, everyone gets scared. Yeah, this is the song, like the sound effect playing right now. This is what happens when you walk into the room. We were supposed to be cleaning out the hen house. If they found us back here, if they found out why we were here and why we were trying to open up the lock to the back door, and all 4 of us were sure to be sentenced to splayed. What? Don't panic, Eriko. That key opens this lock, right? You already tried it, right? Just shut up for a minute. It's the right key. It's hard to open, that's all. She's almost shrieking. Takano Tomita... Well, Miyoko, I think, is... Takano, right? It's as though the sound of our heartbeats were echoing throughout the hallway. And at that point, we heard footsteps that didn't belong to a child. Shh! Somebody's coming! The three of us held our breath, but Eriko didn't hear it. She kept fussing with the lock and the key, as if everything would be okay if she could just open the lock. Eriko, someone's coming! Be quiet! No, this is the right key. Oh, Chino, I already tried it and opened it. And why isn't this working? This lock is open, we could be happy. We could say goodbye this. Eriko, someone's coming! And someone exploded. It's still so loud, yeah. I don't know why that phaser was so loud for no reason. Okay, I don't know what that was, though. Father and mother died. I don't know exactly how old they were. I was too young to remember. They went shopping without me, and that must be why they were punished. Wait, what makes that door the Diddy door? Wouldn't you want that as well, Minecraft Slime, since you're evil now? What a terrible disaster. A lot of people died in that incident. No. Oh, okay. Good, you're not that evil then. But maybe my father was one of the lucky ones. He was still alive when he arrived at the hospital, so he was able to share his final words with me. My mother died instantly.
お父さん、お父さん、お父さん、お父
I
さん。
killed those people, though. Well, maybe it's kind of deserved then. I didn't want to admit this person I could hardly recognize was my father. I called out to him. I hope that it was someone else instead. Fortunately, it was my father. Maybe I shouldn't have woken him. When I woke him, find him. Miserable agony that he had felt.
お父さん、お父さん、お父さん、お父さん、お父さん。
He tried to move his right arm. He could pat my head. His arm was wrapped in bandages. His hand was no longer there. Couldn't find his hand anywhere on his head. Scary memories of his right hand. Main job was to slap me when I got bad. But it's the girl yelling for her father. But I never wished it to be gone. Besides, that hand also patted my head. Even though that only happened a few. The big warm hand broke my head. It's no matter what good deeds I did. Oh, not that. The dad sounds. Well, it seems like he's been in a train crash, and he's like probably severely injured, so he's just groaning out in pain, I guess. And was the least. He had to go into the emergency surgery. The doctors already warned me that the chance of him surviving was very low. That's why I was allowed to see him, regardless of it. I think he got the train. Yeah. The train just slammed into him. I think that's fair. Not only could he no longer rub my head, he might.
お父さん、手術できっと良くなるよね。お父さんきっと元気になれるよね。なれるよね。
よく聞きなさい。お父さんはダメかもしれない。もしもお父さんが死んでも。
嫌だ嫌だ。お父さんは元気になるよ。お医者様がちゃんと手術してくれるもん。だから死んだりなんかしないんだよ。
He was a stubborn and old-fashioned father. He believed endurance was a virtue, and he never complained about anything. That's why I couldn't believe he actually said he might not make it. I tried desperately to deny his words, but even that wish wouldn't prolong his life. My father, knowing his time was limited, tried to tell me some important things, but I interrupted his efforts by crying like a baby. I just wanted him to slap me, just like he used to every time I cried like a baby. But he would never slap me again.
よく聞きなさい。お父さんもお母さんも親類というものがいない。だからお父さんが死んだらお前の世話をしてくれる人は誰もいない。
Okay, so where are you going with this? My parents used to tell me that all the time, so I was aware of that fact. In other words, my father was the only relative I had left in this entire world.
もしもな、お父さんが死んだら。
Okay. I don't get it, though. They left on the train to go shopping, but they left her, like, you would assume to be a young child, at home. Right? Why? Why, like... Why wouldn't they take her with them? slime. You're not Minecraft slime. You're Baby Laugh Jersey Funk.
高野先生を頼りなさい。
Oh no, this is Taka. Who's Miyoko then?
高野、ひ
Oh
ふ
no,
み先生
Hifumi
だよ。
Takano. Ah, yeah, okay. So Takano took his last name then.
言ってみなさい。
高野ひふみ
This is crazy.
そうだ。高野、ひふみ先生だよ。高野先生は。
Because this scene is just so funny. Yeah, it's so I'm guffawing of laughter
きっと、
of how
お前を
hilarious
助け
this is.
お父さんお父さん
Many doctors came into the room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctor stopped him from talking, so I wasn't able to hear him. I was kicked out of the room. I didn't know what to do. Nobody told me how my father was doing or when the surgery was going to start. And nobody told me that was going to be the last conversation I ever had with my father. I think I asked people at the government office about Dr. Takano. They asked me if I knew his phone number. I said I didn't. Then they didn't ask me anything further. Sometimes they told me they'd look into it, but nothing led to anything. They couldn't find me a guardian, so I ended up going to an orphanage. At the time, there were plenty of orphans from the war, so although there were many orphanages around, they were all full. I'm gonna finish episode 7. Nice, sounds good. You think you're finishing it tonight? There are also some orphanages run by civilians. Alright, sounds good, Ainea. Let's see you. Goodbye. I was sent to one of those civilian orphanages. There was no profit to be had in taking an orphan in the first place. So I thought those civilians who were running orphanages must have been very good people. I was sure. They hoped that the children would grow. Wow, thank you for Baby Laugh Jersey Funk, Minecraft Slime but Evil. That was very, very interesting. This felt way longer than 2 minutes. You know, you said it, not me. The reality isn't so kind. How many children in this world can actually express their gratitude towards their parents in the first place? Children are supposed to be nurtured by their parents' love. Therefore, when that environment is destroyed, their hearts are wounded. Every child has his or her own personality. His or her own personality. Receiving affection doesn't guarantee that a child will become someone angelic. Not everyone's heart can be healed. That was why there were some problem kids at the orphanage. Maybe I shouldn't call them problem kids, though. The sadness and despair of losing their parents. Well, maybe, you know what? I think you made a mistake, because since you're evil, you shouldn't have sent a song of, like, people laughing. You should have sent a song of people, like, crying or something. I don't know. Spending time individually with the children could have solved their problems. But at the orphanage where I was, none of the staff members even tried to spend time with them or put an effort into understanding them. All they could do was make sure that the kids followed the rules. Therefore, they could only see the children's emotional pleas for help as problems. It was the dad being... Oh, okay. Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. In this world, nobody expresses love without expecting something in return. The person who founded that orphanage wasn't expecting something in return as well. Or was expecting something in return as well. He wanted the children to appreciate him. That was why such a faint dream was destroyed by cruel reality. The children called the orphanage a prison, and nobody appreciated the staff at all. In fact, all they did was complain. That made the staff slowly realize that love alone couldn't run a facility like this. Just like how the children called it a prison, the staff started to recognize the facility as a prison too. It was a chain reaction resulting from mistrust on both sides. Staff bound the children with rules so they could suppress problem behavior. There's a framed picture of the founder of this orphanage, but I had never seen him in person. Was he satisfied with the fact that he put down his own money into this social service? Or maybe he finally realized his dream of being surrounded by angelic children and being celebrated for what he did was simply that. A dream. I don't know. But there's one thing I'm certain of. Such a dream didn't exist at the orphanage. What'd you do today, Minecraft Slime but Evil? There were so many rules and several plausible standards outlined for us, but the most valued one was silence. What did you do today? Children's chatter tends to increase each other's volume, just like mics drawing closer. And sometimes that leads to fights and the disturbance of order. But the children were forbidden from speaking with each other. With those disallowed, they must have thought things would go smoothly. However, I think I always heard people's voices at the orphanage. There are two kinds of voices. One was the staff yelling, and the other was the children crying. We were not allowed to walk around inside this orphanage, really, so we never knew who it was that was crying. One time, along with the crying and yelling, we heard the noise of metallic things being smashed against each other. We knew it was some kind of punishment, but there's no way for us to even imagine what it was. We trembled, pretended we didn't hear anything, and kept working on our assignments. One of my roommates told me it was the casket punishment. And the third, Diddy Masters. Is that the third voice? Even if we behaved exactly the same way as yesterday, if the staff were in a bad mood, they might pick on us. Even if I didn't want to know, I might suddenly find out what the casket punishment is one day. The footstep of a staff member was getting closer. Oh, that's them leaving the orphanage. Okay. We noticed them, so we straightened our backs and pretended we were studying hard. It was more important than the staff saw us doing so than actually getting any work done. I noticed the girl next to me was falling asleep, so I poked her with my elbow. You noticed my signal and straightened her back like the other children. It was almost evening. This was the hardest time for us to keep ourselves awake, and the most dangerous time. The door to our room opened and a mean-looking man showed up. Then he looked around to make sure none of us were falling asleep. Even if we were actually studying hard, if he thought we were asleep, we were out. That was why we had to make sure we appeared to be studying very hard. The man walked around our desks. I hoped he would just walk by me. That was what we all prayed as we kept working on our homework. The more we pretended to study hard, the more we could hear the sound of metal objects. The sound of metal objects crashing into each other along with screams. We couldn't even imagine what the poor subject of that punishment was going through. I shall return. Alright, sounds good, Minecraft Slime. We'll see you later then. Maybe there was something even worse than the casket punishment. Sorry, Minecraft Slime, but evil. I can't forget the evil. Maybe evil slime. There, that's what I'll call you. Evil slime. To erase such fears, we tried to concentrate even harder on our work. We kept working, as the metal sounds and the screams went on forever. The only time we were allowed to exchange words with our roommates was right after turning the lights off to go to bed. Being located in the middle of the mountains, the orphanage was very quiet at night. After making sure the staff members were far enough away from our room, we enjoyed talking amongst ourselves. That was the only leisure time allowed to us. Though it wasn't anything nice like enjoying pleasant conversation. Why? Because we mostly talked about others behind their backs. We spoke of things like, that member of staff is only strict or unfair or malicious towards this person, and so on. We just repeated those topics forever, until someone couldn't keep themselves awake anymore. We even discussed how we could get back at the staff, and we took revenge on all of them in our imagination. Some kids even started to cry when talking about it, difficult as it was for us. Although the subjects we spoke of were negative, talking about them was the only way to vent our frustration. And even though we felt despair about tomorrow, we were about to fall asleep. But sometimes, a different subject popped up. It was about the Yurigaoka House of Love and Mercy on the other side of the river. Yeah. Over there I hear they get not only nap time, but snack time too. Plus, their president is a very nice person. House of Love and Mercy was a privately run orphanage, just like the one I was at. It was a very kind facility, unlike ours. It seemed like a fantasy land compared to our current environment. A few years before, when this place was a lot worse, a few children tried to escape. It was hard to believe. There was a time when this orphanage was even worse to live at. Supposedly, 3 or 4 people tried to escape. I don't know the exact number, though. They headed to the House of Love and Mercy. Their escape was a success. Except for one unlucky child. They were able to get to the property of the House of Love and Mercy. What? Except for one unlucky child, they were... Oh, okay. Except for one unlucky child. So one unlucky child. Okay. I guess the staff couldn't follow them into the other orphanage's property. In other words, the other facility's property had to be out of their jurisdiction. The staff were frustrated that kids got away from them, and they dragged the one they caught back here. I'm sure they wanted to bring back the others who got away from them too. I'm certain the staff were determined to not let a single one escape. It was easy to see that determination in the obstinate way they locked the place up after that event. But they were never able to bring back the ones that got away. No matter how much the staff were mortified, they couldn't reclaim the children and punish them. In other words, if you can make it to the House of Love and Mercy, then you could escape the evil clutches of this hell. Big boy Queso ate the video and only ads played? Damn. Could Queso eat all the videos on YouTube and just have people watch only ads? Great question. I don't know the answer to that. On the other hand, the one that they caught went through such misery afterwards. Yet the exact details of how he was punished were never passed down. He's live? What's he doing right now? All that remained were ominous faces left by those who knew him at the time. The drowned Ducky, the mashed caterpillar, the splayed Diggy. I can't even imagine what punishments they were. A gnome game? Is it like a horror game type of thing or what? Burgling gnomes. Sounds pretty funny. The only thing I can say is that those punishments were supposed to be far more harsh than the casket punishment, which was the most cruel punishment I knew at the time. I can only imagine how horrible those punishments were from their ominous names. After that, the captured kid's wish came true. He was able to leave the orphanage. Was he able to leave this orphanage safely and enjoy his freedom while breathing in fresh air into the blue sky? Well, according to the rumors, that wasn't what happened at all. I wish I could see when he took up the whole screen. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, Queso would do that, I guess. While he was playing in the boiler room, he slipped and fell, injured his brain, and died. The children were instructed not to go into the boiler room after that incident. Everyone knew the boiler room was always locked. So everyone knew he was killed. And not just that. He was killed after being tortured. He was killed to teach the other children that they would face hell on earth if they tried to escape. Yet those who faced that risk and made it out obtained ordinary, average lives, full of love and mercy's namesake, which were far better conditions than we lived in here. It sounds good. Maybe the House of Love and Mercy was really heaven. Maybe all of the orphanages are pretty much the same. But compared to my orphanage, I bet anything else would have been better. Even if someone escaped successfully, the police would catch him. And he'd be sent back to the orphanage. Which would be pretty much the same as being killed. However, if he could reach the House of Love and Mercy, then they'd take him in. They wouldn't send him back. By talking about escaping to the House of Love and Mercy, we were trying to forget how cruel reality was to us. And one day, the leader of our group, Eriko, said to us quietly, "You try to escape. Had a chance to?" Who didn't want to escape from here? It was a rather foolish question, but that wasn't what she meant. If there was a chance to escape, would you take that chance, knowing what you had to go through to get caught? Back! Welcome back! Is he still taking up the entire screen? You can't see anything? That was what she meant. Not one of us could answer immediately. But the previous escape incident was a total success. I mean, you might have thought differently. But after that, the orphanage had tightened up security to prevent runaways. All the doors and windows were locked heavily. It wouldn't be at all easy to get out. Even if another group escape was planned, the success rate would be very low. No, I went to a different live to check something. Which live person? Which live stream? We escaped and one was caught before. Maybe two would be caught next time. No, maybe even everyone would be. If I could, I'd want to escape. But the House of Love and Mercy is so far away. The bridge is too long too. We'll all be caught before we get there. Besides, we can't even go outside. Everything is locked up. Satoshi the cat. Okay, I don't think I know that person. There were locks all over the orphanage. To escape, you need a key for both the inside and the outside. And after the lights were turned off, even each section of the hallway was individually locked. BRB, I'm hungry. Sounds good. Get your food. Make no mistake, this was a prison. According to the rumors, orphanages receive government funding depending on the number of children they house. So if anyone escapes, they lose money. Also, if we were to expose the conditions at the orphanage, they would end up being inspected, and things would get complicated for them. That was why they were so intent on keeping us locked up. Well, why didn't the other kids do that? Sure, if there was a chance I'd want to escape, but realistically, there's no way we could. Every door is locked. Well, did you know? The hen house in the courtyard uses the same key as the door to the back stairs. Huh? Really? Eriko shushed us. Sometimes mass-produced locks take the same key. Of course, most places use different types of locks so that this wouldn't happen, but the staff at the orphanage must have overlooked it. There were 2 locks that used the same key at the orphanage. However, most of us never had a chance to touch the keys, but there were a few exceptions. One of those was the hen house. Each room group took turns taking care of different chores. Your group was assigned to clean the hen house, so you have to get the key to it from the teacher's office. You were supposed to return the key immediately after you were done. But while taking care of the hen house, the key was in the children's hands. While the staff would occasionally come around to check, they couldn't keep an eye on us forever. Riko-chan, you aren't thinking about using that key, are you? Let's not. It's too dangerous. Of course it's dangerous if there's only one of us. But it's different if we're in a group. Wait, why? You know why only one kid was caught the last time they tried to escape? They were desperate. So to escape as a group, they did something to increase the chance of success. That was why only one of them was caught. What did they do? Back when I stepped on my toe and it hurt? No! Unfortunate. What did you get to eat, though? They scattered as they ran. They dashed in different directions. They waited until day when there were only a few people working at the orphanage and ran this way and that. And so, although it depended on luck, it would increase the chance of success for sure. On your own, you'd probably have no hope, but if the staff were to chase after other children, then your own chance of escaping successfully would increase. In other words, Eriko was inviting us to escape with her. The more children joined, the more each of our chances would increase. Popsicle because I couldn't find anything good. Well, at least it's something. What flavor popsicle is it? But among us, there were children who tattled to the staff for their own benefit. She had to be careful about who she talked to. Eriko must have trusted us a lot. Eriko, me, Tomomi, and Kikuko. Orange. Oh, okay. I feel like the orange popsicle aren't used often. Like, usually when people think of popsicles, orange is not the first one people think of. Is it? I mean, the main thing though is if it's good though. And that's all that matters. 4 children. Any of you want to stay here a day longer? The 3 of us shook our heads. At the same time, we couldn't agree to escape with her either. Of course we don't want to stay here a day longer, even an hour longer. I mean, even if we did exactly the same thing as we did yesterday, we might get yelled at tomorrow. I can't stand this anymore. I can't stand living in fear of what to do and what not to do so I won't be yelled at. We all feel the same way. We can endure strict rules. It was almost impossible to endure vague ones. It wasn't too much of a stretch to say that the rules depended on the mood of the staff. This is okay, that isn't okay. Such borderline rules change daily. If we were to say anything about that, we would be treated horribly for it. I will escape, even if I have to do it alone. Like I said, the more people that join, the better our chances. Think about it. If they find out about this henhouse key trick, they're sure to change the lock on the back door. In other words, we only have one chance. So even if you regret not joining in later, it'll be too late. But I'm so scared. Scared too. If we get caught, we'll be killed. Omi and Kikuko, the only ones who felt afraid. The fear was perfectly understandable, because all of a sudden the fear of the punishment that would follow had become very realistic. I'm sure Eriko felt that same way too, but her courage was suppressing her fear. And because of that, she shared her idea with us. Oh, do you plan to stay here forever? No way! No, you're scared? But this is the only chance we have. You have to be brave, just this once. What about you, Miyoko? Don't you want to go with me? Unlike Tomomi and Kikuko, I wasn't trembling that much. Of course, I was scared in my own way, but compared to the other 2, I must have appeared rather calm. Can we really escape? Of course, Eriko could guarantee her success, but I had to ask her anyway. There's no guarantee. If you join me, I'll have a better chance of escaping than trying to run on my own. Of course, the same goes for you too. Eriko gave a calculated reason, but I'm sure she just wanted a friend to agree with her. That was probably more important to her than increasing her chances to escape. Tomomi, Kikuko, if you're scared, then I won't force you. I hate when and you have to eat the big pizza. Oh, yeah. When you start eating it and then it just falls off. So, like, you have to hold it in your hand. And then it's like, oh, it's just the worst. Yeah. No, I completely get you. Yoko and I will escape ourselves. Maybe if you had, like, a bowl or something, maybe it would be... You could, like, eat it with a spoon or something. It'd be kind of funny. Oh, well. Keiko rushed the two to make up their minds. It almost looked cold, but that was her way of mustering their courage. Because it was very possible that, regardless of the outcome of our escape attempt, as our roommates, those two would be held responsible. It's not like we'll do it tomorrow. Our turn to take care of the hen house is in a week. We'll wait for the perfect time to do it. Eat it like corn on the cob, yeah. I mean, that's the ideal way. But if it breaks off, then, I mean, what else can you do? But it'll probably be cold, though, to hold it in your hand like corn on the cob. Be very careful. The rotation of the staff and the timing were important. We also each had to know the way to the House of Love and Mercy. We were planning to split up, so we had to know the area. I made up my mind. Okay, I'm coming with you. Let's time our escape very carefully, okay? Of course. We'll be killed if we get caught. I don't want to die. I'll come too. Me too. Tomomi and Kikuko agreed. So we all decided to escape as a group. We waited for the perfect opportunity. It's funny that there's another escape attempt. In chapter 5, it was Shion escaping from that girls' school. And then there's another escape attempt here, Takano from the orphanage. We waited for the day where only a few staff members were at the orphanage. And we decided to let God take care of the rest. It's open. Maybe it was the way I did it. Eriko tried to open the lock several times without success, but I got it open on the first attempt. The back door opened slowly. We felt a cool breeze. This wasn't the world of freedom just yet. In fact, it was the exact opposite. If the staff were to find out we were here, we would be in big trouble. It was a world of danger. But unless we went through that dangerous world, we wouldn't be able to go any further.
Yoshi. 行くよ。
I think Eriko wanted to say that. We were planning to leave with that as our cue. What we heard instead wasn't Eriko's voice.
お前たちそこで何をしている
We started to run. It was raining. We all got soaked immediately and our clothes stuck to our skin. While that would normally be very uncomfortable, we wouldn't even stop to think about that. We could only keep running in the rain. We were dashing on gravel, but it felt more like trudging through a muddy rice field. My feet kept sinking, and I couldn't pull them up. I was frustrated because no matter how fast I tried to run, I wasn't getting any speed. I felt a sense of urgency. I heard someone yelling escape behind me, and all I could do was run like crazy.
決めた通りにバラバラの方向に散って
With Eriko's cue, we all went different ways, hoping they wouldn't be coming after us. We would be able to reunite safely at the... Would we be able to reunite safely at the House of Love and Mercy? All four of us there together? Or maybe someone would be missing. No, maybe everyone else would make it. And I'd be the one who gets caught. My thoughts were interrupted by the voice of a staff member coming from behind me.
待ちなさい待ちなさい待ちなさい
The staff member should have numbered fewer than us. If I was lucky, they wouldn't be coming after me. Praying that the staff voices I heard in the distance weren't after me, I looked back for a moment. If I had time to turn around, why didn't I take another step forward? Why didn't I try to escape further? As I turned around, I felt a huge hand cover my face. Its pinky finger slipped into my open mouth. The hand grabbing my face shoved me into the muddy gravel. Of course, I didn't stay quiet. I fought back, and then I saw his face. It was the scariest face I'd ever seen. Sounds good, evil slime. Really wanted to capture me alive to use me as an example. And considering what would happen to me afterwards, killing me here on the spot wouldn't pose a problem, would it? Yes, he looked at me with an unworldly hate, ready to end my life here and now. His pinky finger ended up touching my tongue. The indescribably nasty taste sent an achy feeling through my whole body. That's it. This is what my murder tastes like. He was gonna shove that finger down my windpipe and suffocate me. Start biting Takano. And so in order to live, I fought back the only way I could. Yeah! Something warm filled my mouth. It felt like swallowing blood after a nosebleed. I spit. What? She bite off his entire pinky? I heard his roars echoing behind me. It wasn't a man that was after me. It was a beast. He had no interest in capturing me. His only goal was to see me dead. My shoes had slipped off. They weren't sneakers. They came off easily while I was running like mad. My bare feet struck the gravel over and over. It was painful, but I didn't care. Because if I stopped, I knew what would happen to me. So is this in Hinamizo or is there somewhere else? Tree branches cut my face and barbed wire scratched my thighs. My feet and toes were bloody from running on gravel. The blood from the staff member's pinky finger dripped down my mouth, staining my chin and chest. I was running for my life with scratches and cuts all over my body. If I were to get caught, I would be killed. If my pursuer had any sense, then I would be killed after being tortured. But if he didn't, I would be killed on the spot. I don't want to be killed. I don't want to be killed! My lungs and heart were about to explode. My mind was running blank from fear and lack of oxygen. I was about to lose consciousness. I might have given in if I didn't hear the voice of the staff member coming after me. My knees were shaking. My legs wouldn't move properly. I felt like I was gonna fall, like a puppet with the strings cut. But I couldn't fall. I couldn't fall just yet. It was too late. My face had hit the gravel. I felt the awful sensation of falling. And immediately after, the roar of the beast coming from behind me. Must have hit my thigh against the steering wheel when I jumped. I could feel the throbbing pain, delayed slightly. I'm sweating all over. I wiped the sweat off my forehead and put my hand on my chest, only then realizing how fast my heart was beating. I rubbed my thigh. I rubbed it in a straight line. That's not where I hit the steering wheel. But I feel like this is where it hurts. I can't see a scary beast in the moonlit car. I have my shoes on and I'm not covered in blood. My toes are fine too. Someone knocked on the window, startling me.
Sansa, 時間です。
ありがとう。
I wanted to take a nap, so I told him to come wake me up in an hour. Maybe an hour was too long. Too long a nap actually makes me tired. Put my seat back up and got out of the car. The cool breeze feels good on my skin. I only see the moon. There's nothing else to see on this mountain trail. My car and command vehicle disguised as a trailer are parked on the side of the street. Oh, so it's time already! I can still feel that bad taste in my mouth. I spat it out on the side of the street. Even that couldn't get rid of it. Taste of blood, saliva, and rain. Sweat from my forehead and raindrops got into my mouth, but I couldn't swallow, so I ended up drooling. Sensation around my lips brought back memories. And then I tried to wipe my mouth. So yeah, this is like when they're going to go kill everyone. When the operation starts taking place. This is... Maybe I'm nervous. That's why I had such a bad dream. I think there's a coffee machine in the command vehicle. An unpleasant cup of coffee will wake me up.
どう？何か動きは？
いえ、何も。先ほどジーチから定期連絡が問題なしとのことです。
そう。ねえ、どなたかコーヒーを入れてくださらない？
はい。ミルクと砂糖は？
ミルクだけ。あ、やっぱり砂糖も入れてくださる？
I still have a bad taste in my mouth. The feeling of biting and crushing his little finger and his filthy blood filling my mouth. I'm sure a sweeter cup of coffee will wash down that bad taste and also wake me up from my nightmare completely. Higurashi when they cry Kai. Does it end there? Oh, it ends there. Okay, I didn't expect it to be so quickly. No new tips. Well, let's quickly continue while I still have time to do another segment.
はい。バンケットより後方。
スピーチあと一人で乾杯に入ります。準備できてるね。
広報 OK です。内部全然聞こえないんで、スピーチが終わるタイミングでコールをお願いします。
いいかい。角田にビールは10本ずつだよ。
What is this meant to be?
ちゃんと自分の縄張りにスムーズに運んでね。
Young hotel workers dressed smartly in bow ties pulled bottle after bottle out of the beer cases, preparing for the toast. They waited for their cue to serve the drinks while listening through the intercom. At a normal party, they could put the bottles of beer on the table ahead of time. But if there was a lecture before the party, then they couldn't. Guests don't mind sushi going dry due to a long speech. They don't like seeing their tables get wet with condensation from the beer bottles. And more than anything, they certainly don't want to drink warm beer. That's why beer has to be served right before a toast. However, there's always a speech before a toast, and usually a long one. Especially at a big party like this, there are a lot of guests that give speeches, so it's extremely difficult to know when to serve. For that reason, the bottles end up sitting outside by the banquet room. People end up drinking warm beer anyway. There are several dozen tables with white tablecloths on them in the banquet room. Approximately 8 people were sitting at each table. There were at least a few hundred people in the room. The banquet room was filled with excitement. There are many plates with many different kinds of food on each table. Sushi platter, a sashimi platter, a fruit platter. Also along the wall, there were cooks ready to serve the fresh sashimi. All the guests appeared to be well-mannered gentlemen who were clearly notable people in various different fields. The huge and beautiful chandelier above them clearly indicated that this hotel held a status good enough for those famous people. An elderly gentleman was giving a lengthy speech on the stage before making a toast. Usually people don't like long speeches, especially if it's before a toast. But the guests occasionally shouted, "Yes, yes!" and sometimes gave him a loud applause, filling the room with their fervor. Well, maybe fervor was a pleasant way to put it. It was probably more accurate to say their excitement was bizarre.
大体ですね、自分の国の国旗に敬意を示すなという教育をしている国が世界中のどこにあるというんですか。
Not the city, obviously, but the group.
ないよ。日本だけなんです。そんなおかしい教育をしているのは。
そうだそうだ。
国旗や国歌を強制されることは心の自由への強制？バカ言っちゃいけない。いいですか？国旗や国歌を愛するというのはですね、自然に湧いてくるもんなんです。自分を知り、郷土を知り、歴史や国家を学ぶ。そうしていく中で自然に自らが日本人であることを自覚していき、日本社会の一員を担う国民としての役割を理解していく。その結果、自然と湧いてくるのが国を愛するという心なんです。ところが反日教師どもはそれを軍国主義の洗脳だとこう言っている。バカ言っちゃいけない。そう言ってる連中がやってることは何ですか。これから日本を背負っていく子供たちに反日妄想をすり込み、自虐教育で洗脳している。日本は恥ずべき国で、貴様らはその国に生まれた恥ずべき人間であると国家をないがしろにし、自分の生まれた国を否定せよと、そんなことを吹き込んでいるわけです。無垢な子供たちはそれをそのまま鵜呑みにし、何の裏付けもなく信じてしまう。そりゃあ当たり前です。学校は学ぶところなんですよ。そこで教師がそうだと教えれば、子供たちは何の疑いもなく信じるんです。
Welcome back from ads.
こんな卑劣な話がありますか。今こそ日本の教育を私たちは体を張って守らなければならない
So this speech is basically
時な
about
ので
like
す。
how it's just not like these people are mad that like people in Japan allegedly aren't respecting their country or flag, I guess. The sounds of applause filled the banquet room. All the gentlemen agreed and expressed that they felt the same way by cheering him on. After that, a gentleman wearing a cloth sash approached the stage. The hall welcomed him onto the stage with another round of thunderous applause. A rousing theme from a popular drama series played as he took the stage, but it was entirely unnecessary before the overwhelming applause. The man's sash carried his name written in large letters, along with the name of the prefecture he was running for office in.
Wait,
what are we waiting for?
丸山〇〇くんを皆さんにご紹介いたします。
Oh no. Okay, this is a...
彼、丸山くんは
No worries.
長
You
年全
can
知事
go
の下で
work out your life however you
知事
please.
室長を務め
No
その
worries.
懐刀として長いこと県政を支えてまいりました。この度前知事が高齢により優待を決意され、その後任として指名されたのがここ。
私の県にも実に悔しいことに反日教師が何人もおります。教育の自由、心の自由などと謳いながら子供たちに反日教育をシャーシャーと強いている。正しい歴史を伝えず、連中お得意の捏造と歪曲で大東亜共栄圏の真の意味やアジアを白人支配から解放しようとアジア各国のために血を流してくださった勇士たちのことは伝えようともしない。戦前どれだけのアジアの国が白人植民地であったか。そして日本がアジア解放に立ち上がり、戦後どれだけの国が自治を回復したか、その意味すらも伝えようともしない。情けない。そんな連中が真剣に教育を考える教師たちの中に混じり込み、神聖な学者を汚し続けていることにはもう我慢がなりません。私、丸山〇〇は県知事に就任し、そういったクズどもを全て通用し、県の教育を正し、日本の将来を担うことができる健全な若者たちを育てることができる環境を取り戻すことで、
彼、丸山〇〇くんは来年の県知事選挙に立候補いたします。どうか皆さん、温かい応援とみなぎるお力で彼、丸山〇〇くんをどうか男にしてやってください。
丸山〇〇、日本の教育を正してまいります。どうかよろしくお願いいたします。
Dude, this guy's voice is something else. Again, the banquet room filled with applause. The man was receiving a standing ovation. I need to explain a bit about this banquet before you misunderstand. It wasn't the conference of a political association or a lecture by a political candidate. It was hard to believe, but this was nothing more than a meeting of a college's alumni association? What? Everyone should be familiar with what those are. Whether it's elementary school, junior high school, or college. Once you graduate from one of those, you normally belong to an organization of alumni. You receive invitations for reunions where you enjoy talking about the good old days. However, there are many different types of such organizations. Some are simple, and some are united with much tighter bonds. And once an organization becomes united with those tight bonds, it's no longer a simple organization of alumni. Rather, it becomes a significant fact known as an alma mater clique. In Japanese society, it's traditional for graduates to form tighter bonds that go beyond the level of an organization. This guy just giving a speech. That's all he really missed. Also, the more superior the alma mater, the stronger that tendency holds true. The Imperial University. This is crazy. Hello, Ruben. One of the best universities in the country is famous for the deep bonds its graduates form. Why do superior people like to bond? It may be because they take pride in being superior. But more than that, maintaining connections is the most significant reason. All Imperial University graduates are elites in their respective field. They are likely to succeed and become important people. When they do, the unity of their alumni association gains immeasurable meaning. In fact, even today, the Imperial University graduates maintain their tight academic clique, and they hold great influence throughout many different fields. They interact with other universities as well, so the graduates' bonds are extremely tight, even today. How's your day, Ruben? Additionally, while Imperial University usually refers to the University of Tokyo, sometimes it's used to mean all 7 major universities in Japan. They're located in Tokyo, Kyoto, Tohoku, Kyushu, Hokkaido, Osaka, and Nagoya. They are all great schools. There happens to be an organization of alumni that includes all of those 7 universities. The elderly gentlemen in this banquet room were each from one of those organizations. Can't wait for ReZero next week! Subaru's gonna be losing his mind again, not having any of his memories. However, not every graduate would get an invitation here automatically. Dianeo, what happened to reading Umineko? It's a society of select gentlemen, and in order to become a member, one must first fulfill several conditions, such as recommendation from an existing member, contribution to the society, possession of status, and so forth. Oh wait, you finished it? It's done? Entirely? You finished the episode? Now just after party. Damn! Wait, it was like, you had barely anything left, what? Developments have been getting worse? Oh no. Therefore, all the members are important people from different fields, and obviously the power of this organization is of a political nature. So was there an episode this week? I've been reading all day, dude. Damn. Wait, so you read wow. Yeah, that's been going on for a while. That's crazy. But there's one more very important criterion one has to meet to join. Yep, yesterday. Okay. Strong patriotism. A heart that longs to contribute to Japan and its rebirth. As a result, this organization has become extremely nationalistic. Up on the stage, the candidate for the prefectural governorship still talking passionately. And among those elderly gentlemen in the crowd, Takano can be found. Takano seemed used to this kind of conference and seemed unsurprised at anything that was said. But at all the same time, she looked rather fed up with it. As she was in attendance, she must have been one of their members, which meant she possessed not only an extremely excellent academic background, but that the older gentleman here had acknowledged her equivalent contributions to society, and that she possessed strong patriotism. However, her academic background was the only qualification she had met to join. She was only able to join as a special case because of her connections. She didn't even hold prejudiced ideas like the other members did. So why was she here today? Probably because of the same reason as the man giving the speech up on stage. How'd you rate episode 7, Diana? The man on the stage didn't actually have a prejudiced idea, much like Takano. He only prepared a speech that he knew the guests would like. Politicians only want votes. Each and every person has a vote, but appealing to each of one of them takes too long. The most efficient way is to appeal to organizations with a unified idea and unified will. In other words, this man was giving this speech so he can garner support from those powerful people. The elderly gentlemen in the banquet room will then do their best to support him, since he appears to share their ideals. They can offer many kinds of expediency, support, and assistance, to an outrageous degree, I might add. If the day's events continued in the same way, the organization would likely decide to officially support him. They would probably give him a great deal of financial aid. They'll assist him in different ways as well. Subaru has been going through quite the identity. Has he tried talking with, like, any of the people, or is he completely avoiding them? When he wins the election and becomes a governor next year, he still doesn't trust any of them. Okay. Organization will welcome the governor as a new member and gain even more political influence. And eventually, the organization will become so powerful that nobody can ignore it. Bye, Gark. Yeah! Isn't it not the greatest title? I thought we established this many times long ago. It's the greatest title to ever have been created. And I'm so happy that we've been able to use it for this long. I have to, like, somehow come up with something for Umineko. I don't know how I'm going to, but I'll try to find something. After reaching this level, they were a fine syndicate. No, they would be a secret society if the group wasn't so open about its activities. But that's the thing. I have to, like, I can't just translate. It has to be something else. Like, if it's you, I have to do, like, if it's you, then I can be like, me, right? Me. So like we're gonna say mi fa, right? No. Yeah, mi fa, right? Like do re mi fa sol la ti do, right? Okay. So mi, so mi fa. Ne. Okay, I'll have to come up with the title. Yeah, you cool with this one. Yeah, we'll find it. We'll get it. We'll get out. I'm sure I'll find something. No, there'd be a secret society if the group wasn't so open about its activities. Now, I'm sure some of you readers are brushing off, thinking there's no way such a suspicious organization could exist in Japan. But everything I've explained is entirely true. This week he hid the body and found that the deceased person's Book of the Dead is in the tower's library. So who died this week then? Everything I've explained is entirely true. There are several such influential groups and organizations within our society, and you need to understand that they hold powerful political clout and influence our national policies. Bailey. Look, we're with little blue here. Let me see if I can find it. Bailey Reed. Oh, her. Okay. Some are alma mater cliques like the one I've described above. There's a scientific societies serving different parties, industrial groups, advisory committees, religious organizations, community service groups, so forth. Also, there are right wings and left wings, the hawk and the dove. Is that what they call right and left wing in Japan? The hawk and the dove? I won't go listing their specific names here. But you've probably read them every now and then in your average newspaper. In Japan, the terms for such forces aren't... Oh, well, there you go. Most of you readers probably think of a suspicious organization wearing white hoods when you hear the phrase secret society and laugh it off. Play song. Okay, what's the song? What is this? So when he reads Meili's Book of the Dead and saw her memories up to her death, he saw himself kill her. Oh, okay. Interesting. I will ask Minecraft Sign that you use the video redeem. Not the song. The song is like something to... Unless you just want me to play it in the background. In which I could just play it in the background. What is this? Why is... Do they have like ratings and stuff? And unfortunately, that's a huge mistake. In America, where there's... Like, what even is this? So I don't think these streamers have the darkest of pasts. I can't lie, but whatever. You know, that's fair. If that's what they're saying, I can't really say anything. In America, where there's far more territory and citizens, way more groups like that. And they possess such vast influence that ignoring them is impossible. As of right now, Nibiru with his lost memories has no idea why the people around him love and trust him, especially considering that he saw evidence that he is a killer. Because he thinks for the first time that he's been here. He doesn't know that he's been in the world for a lot. That's a really interesting dynamic. I guess, yeah, I could understand why he wouldn't be trusting. But the terms they use for such forces don't apply to those on the scale of the Syndicate. Sometimes people say that such groups have more power than the White House, and they are referred to as the shadow government. Even here in Japan, we had a shadow government before the war, our Zaibatsu. After we lost the war, the JHQ dismantled those blocks, but 40 years have passed since then. There's no guarantee our country hasn't given birth to another shadow government, given how good we are at collusion, groundwork, and backroom deals. Neo Takano was, in fact, attending a conference of such a shadow government. Not only does he not trust the others, he can't trust himself. It's peak thrills and mystery. Honestly, it's better that he... I would actually wrap that you can... Like, in terms of... How do you say? I like it more that he... Like, how do you say? Because it's like... obviously... I don't know. I think it's better that he doesn't trust others and doesn't trust himself. In terms of, like... The way... In terms of his relationship with everybody... Because if he trusted himself and didn't trust everyone else, then he could be like, oh, screw all these people. But now that he also doesn't trust himself, he can't just say screw all these people because then he'll also have to say screw himself. Might appear to be a guest house at a huge golf course. There were no golfers in sight. But by appearances, that must be it. But appearances can be... This wasn't a golf course, but a huge backyard. The guest house was, in fact, a very stylish mansion. Normal people would be surprised to learn that this was a private residence. The interior of the building was as lavish as the exterior. There were beautiful carpets on every floor, expensive-looking decorations on the wall, and expensive-looking bottles of alcohol on the shelves. That's the kind of room Takano was in. There was a knock at the door and an old man in a wheelchair and a young woman pushing it in. As Takano stood up to bow, the old man stopped her by raising his right hand.
畳んでも久しぶりだの。いつでも遊びに来なさいと言っとるのに。
そのお言葉だけで光栄ですわ、
He can't leave his
小
side. He
泉
also
先
has
生。
returned. That's why from being pushed down the stairs from someone who really is pushed into a corner right now. I guess he should never go to stairs ever again, and then all will be sorted out. The old man sat down on the sofa with assistance from the woman. He was very old. His face was covered in wrinkles, and he could hardly do anything on his own. And so he still held a great deal of power and
相
influence.
変わらずお盛んですわね。首筋、口紅がついておりますわよ。
ほっ、それ本当かね。やれやれ、これはお恥ずかしいの。
There was no lipstick on his neck. The woman who was helping with his wheelchair was too beautiful to be a mere helper, but Takano had suspected something. As it turned out, her guess was correct. Although he was so old that he could die the next day, he wanted to stay sexually active until the very end. Even the Grim Reaper would think that's just absurd.
みおちゃんもいつの間にかすっかり美人さんに成長したの。いつまでも小さいと思っとったらいつの間にの。
ご冗談を。本当にそう思われていたら、私のお尻を撫でようなんてなさいませんわ。
おい先短い年寄りに触らせても減るもんではないに。
私よりも
My
もっと柔ら
dignity,
かいお尻を
probably?
散
Yes,
々
we've
撫
tried
で
the
ておい
deadlock,
で
no
のく
idea
せ
what to
に。
do. We ended this week's episode with Subaru being confronted and suspected by Ram, and it seems he plans to kill her. Oh, so she's suspecting him to be the killer? Takano and the old man enjoyed a tasteless conversation. They had clearly known each other a long time and were very close. The young woman came back to serve tea. After she left, the old man started to speak.
しかし、みおちゃんは本当に立派な子だの。高野くんもこれほど立派に育ってくれて、きっとあの世で鼻高々だろうな。
そうであればいいのですが。
So when did Subaru lose his memories?
祖父の偉業には私など足元にも及びません。
Like, was it when he entered that floor specific or just in the
高野く
tower?
んもいろいろと運がなかった。時代にも恵まれんかった。もし何もない時代に研究をしておったなら、あんたに引き継がせることもなく、見事研究
At
を
least, at
完
the
成
very
さ
least,
せ
he's
ておった
suspecting
だ
of
ろ
not
う
being
の。
himself. Well, I mean, this entire chapter has been Takano backstory, right? Like, the first segment and this segment has been Takano backstory. Like, this, everything is just Takano backstory.
ですが、そういう時代だったからこそ、皮肉にも祖父はひなみ沢症候群の存在に気づくことができました。
The world today is in the nuclear era. America and the Soviet Union glaring at each other over mounds of nuclear stockpiles. It takes nukes to have authority as a major power. We forever abandoned our nukes thanks to our three anti-nuclear principles. Okay, sounds good, Evil Slime. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good rest of your night. He lost his memories when he went upstairs to check out a book. We don't know who's in the library. We still don't know what happened there. So, he always returns to a point after he's lost his memories. And the other people don't know why he like, or what caused him to lose his memories either. Like, they don't know it was that book. Yes, we forever. Did we forever abandon? Okay, yeah. Horrible. This was the scene Surplus and I mentioned being non-voice acted for a bit, a major political tangent. I do not remember you guys mentioning that at all, so this is all completely new. In the middle of the 20th century, despite rising tensions between East and West, there's a temporary peace amidst a Cold War brought by a balance of nuclear weapons pointed at one another. Permanent memberships in the United Nations were monopolized by nations with nuclear arms. Secure their predominance with nuclear weapons, bound the world with nuclear non-proliferation treaties, eventually banning non-nuclear nations from the world stage. For Japan to become a nation that could compete with the world, it must develop nuclear arms or something as powerful. That's what some people believe, at least. Realistically, Japan will never arm itself with nuclear weapons. I know. Citizens wouldn't accept it. Even if the government ignored their opinions and armed itself with nuclear weapons, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. By abandoning the nuclear weaponry, Japan gained the deterrent power of the United States. Some people thought the only way for Japan to become equal to the United States would be to get nuclear arms of their own. But realistically, that was impossible. Even if Japan armed itself with nuclear weapons, that wouldn't automatically let Japan join the great powers. Takano and the old man discussed the balance of nuclear power in the world. Eventually, the sound of the cuckoo clock reminded them to return to the main subject at hand. The old man pointed to the attendee case that had been sitting next to Takano. Takano nodded once, opened it up, and removed the contents. The storm is no joke, might be more evil than me. Is there a storm brewing where you are? Evil slime? I thought you were heading out. The storm pulled you back in? What were you saying, Dionea, in like reference to for the like what were you and Surplus talking about? Like, why did you guys mention it in the first place for the political tangent? There were brand new bills packed in it. How much was actually in there? A bundle of brand new million yen bills is 1 centimeter, so there must have been at least enough to make up 8 digits. The episode ended with the sickest line in episode title drop. Murder becomes a habit. Let's go. Sure, you're just waiting for the next episode then. Do you have any idea? Have any, like, because they usually drop, like, some teasers or something after the ending, right? Do they have anything? But it's not the biggest storm. Okay. There's also 2 more attache? I have no clue what that word is. Cases by her side. However, neither Takano nor the old man were surprised at all. Takano closed that case and bowed. No, there's no after credit scene, so I'm dying here. No.
このご恩は忘れません。
金は人生の長い若者が持つべきだの。年寄りがあの世まで持っていくもんじゃない。金はあるだけものを言うが、現金はさらにものを言う。大事に使いなさい。
もちろんですわ。祖父の夢を実現するためだけに使います。
高野くんが羨ましいの。良いお孫さんを持たれた。きっとあの世であんたを自慢しているだろうの。
まだ自慢されるようなことは何もしていません。
Takano backstory is pretty great, but also quite, I mean, it seems like the entire, like, first couple sections of this is going to be Takano backstory. Like, I can't imagine, like, it stops after this segment. There's probably going to be more Takano backstory.
祖父の研究を完成させた時初めて、私は祖父に褒めてもらえる資
The
格が
episode
得ら
ended
れる
with
の
the
だと思いま
sickest
す。
line drop Diddy is here. Would that be a sick title drop? I don't know if it would be.
本当に羨ましい。うちのせがれたちは全然ダメだ。金儲けのことしか頭にない。金は儲けてからが大切なんだ。その儲けた金でお国のために何を貢献できるかが大切なんだ。それこそが今日まで自分を育んでくれたお国へのご恩返しっちゅうもんなんだがの。
あら、たくさんの愛人たちに気前よくおごるのもお国へのご恩返しなんですの？
もちろんだとも。あいつらが買い物をすれば金は巡ってお国に戻る。
That's honestly a good comeback. However, those lovers would probably end up buying some foreign goods. Things probably don't work quite the way this old man thinks they do. Takano chuckled to
だ
herself.
が女どもにばらまく金とミオちゃんに託す金は意味が全く違う。
存じております。
ミオちゃんは今日までよく頑張ってきた。礼を尽くし大勢の人たちの信用と支持を取り付けた。今だから話すが、春山くんも望月くんも最初は君のことを若すぎると批判的だったんだがね。だから私もミオちゃんのその努力を認めて
Haruyama
そ
and
の金を
Mochizuki.
託すん
I
だ。
can't remember those names. Haruyama sounds familiar though.
そしてな、その金を私が託す。私がミオちゃんを高野くんの研究の正式な後継者だと認めたということなんだ。
ありがとうございます。私ごとき若輩に委ねてくださったことに深く感謝いたします。
いやいや、これは高野くんと君の研究だ。彼もミオちゃん以外が引き継ぐことを望まなかっただろうの。だからミオちゃんがここまで上り詰めたおかげで他の年寄りたちをより説得しやすかったわけだ。
祖父の完成できなかった研究を私が完成させることだけが私ができる祖父への唯一の恩返しですから、そのために求められる努力ならばいといません。
Takano smiled as she remembered everything she had to go through to get to this point. It went without saying, but the old men around Takano saw her as someone from their grandchild's generation, or maybe even younger. Just how much trouble did Takano have to endure in order to gain the trust of those with such a large generation gap? It was hard to describe to those who couldn't imagine her troubles, but Takano earned it. She gathered allies, drove away enemies, garnered support, and forced them to recognize her. She spent a long time establishing trust and rising to a status that the old men would welcome, which was all the more reason this meeting was a reward for many days of hardship. Now that she had officially had a powerful influence backing her, she could spread her wings and see the completion of her grandfather's unfinished research.
さて、高野くんの研究を正式に引き継ぐことになったなら、ミオちゃんにも話しておかなきゃならんことがある。
何でしょう。伺います。
The old man paused and pulled up an expensive cigarette from the cigarette holder on the table. Takano lit it up for him. She didn't smoke herself, but knowing that the old man did, she kept the lighter in her pocket. The constant build-up of little gestures like that was how she gained the trust she held today. Takano-kun noticed the Hinamizawa syndrome in Manchuria, not Japan. Yes. According to my grandfather's journal, around 1940 he learned that many soldiers sent from Hinamizawa to the Kwantung army expressed terminal symptoms, which led him to surmise that an unknown infectious parasite dwelled in Hinamizawa. You think that Tongue knew Charlie Kirk is, or did Charlie know Tongue? I don't know. Is this when he played the feed the brain, or was it no steal the brain rot in Fortnite? Maybe we could have figured it out there, but it's as I never did. It might have been impossible. Censorship? What's censorship? Conditions those who were sent far off the battlefield from Hinamizawa spent their days under duress and occasionally exhibited terminal symptoms, hallucinated, and caused twisted incidents. Yet all that occurred in the extensive chaos at the battlefield. Every incident was handled separately. No one suspected there was an underlying cause.
当時高野くんは軍医少佐として海外に派兵されていて、現地の貿易研究所で各種伝染病の予防対策について研究していた。そんな中で偶然、いくつかの錯乱事件が全て同じ出身地の兵士によって起こされていることを知った。
Have a good rest of your night.
高野くんはひなみ沢出身者に特有の症状ではないかと仮定し、個人的にこの研究を始めたのだ。そしてひなみ沢出身の兵士を研究所勤務にして集め、いろいろと調査した。そしてひなみ沢独特のお社様信仰の存在を知り、 得意な性質を持つ未知の疾病の存在を確信したのだ。
Some may wonder how he could be so certain that these symptoms were caused by unusual parasites. At the beginning of the 20th century, German doctors proved that some unknown diseases were caused by bacteria and parasites. At the time, it wasn't too far of a jump to assume that the unknown pathogens could be behind unknown diseases. For instance, in modern times, it's been revealed that the beriberi is caused by vitamin B1 deficiency. At the start of the 20th century, many loudly proclaimed that it was the work of an unidentified pathogen.
はい。祖父はその研究が軍にとって価値のあるものになるのではないかと予想し、予算
Oh,
を
so I guess
求め
it's
ましたが
the、reason why
一
she...
生
I
に
still
腐
don't
れたと。
understand, though. How is killing Hinamizawa proof of the research? Why does she need to kill, whatever his name is? Irie-sensei. I don't get that. As a researcher, her grandfather was very talented and passionate. When it came to getting the aid of political powers, simply struck out. Oh, like a voice. Okay, that the especially change for censorship. Interesting. Okay. Hinamizawa syndrome. No, the possible existence of a parasite that infected the human brain and controlled emotions. Even though he made the remarkable achievement of discovering a mystery no one had explained before him, he was unable to convince others of that achievement and spent his life alone, unable to garner support and unable to achieve proper recognition for his achievement. Independent research has its limits. Talented people, funding, and backup. Research project can be successful only if all those things are present. Takano had noticed her grandfather's mistakes, and that was why she did everything she could to obtain all of that. Talented people, funding, and backup.
当時の上層部は即効性でしかも普遍性の高い治療薬を期待していた。高野君の研究は非常に興味深いものではあっても、当時の軍には期待されなかったということだの。
ですが、先生は唯一祖父の研究に理解を示してくれたと聞いています。祖父は先生のことを無二の親友と記していました。
高野君とは同郷だった。同じ蕎麦屋を知る人間と遠方の戦地で会えるというのは奇跡的なことだったの。彼とは年は離れていたが、私たちは固い友情で結ばれていたのだ。だから高野君からはよく話をされたの。画期的な研究になるに違いない。本格的な研究のために予算をつけられるよう根回ししてほしいと何度も相談を受けた。
祖父の手記にも先生がいろいろと各方面に掛け合ってくださったことが記されています。結局祖父の研究が認められることはありませんでしたが、先生だけが理解者でいてくれたことはきっと存命中。
だが結局は何の力にもなれんかった。だから高野君にしてやれなかった協力をみおちゃんにするんだ。みおちゃんに協力するのは高野君に対する私の罪滅ぼしでもある。
ありがとうございます。祖父は良い親友に恵まれたと思っています。軍上層部に先生のように理解を示してくれる方が少しでもいてくれたなら、祖父の人生はもっと違ったものになっていたかもしれないと思うと、とても悔しく思います。
The old man closed his eyes and paused for a moment. Shortly after that, he looked into the distance and spoke.
実はな、真実はそうではない。上層部は高野君の発見に少なからず関心を持っていたのだ。
え？それは初耳です。でもそれならなぜ祖父の研究を認めなかったのですか？
ある事情により高野君にひなみ沢症候群を研究させたくない都合ができたのだ。その理由は私と一部の高級将校しか知らん。私を除き全員が他界した今、高野君の後を継ぐみおちゃんには話しておこうと思う。
研究させたくない都合とは何ですか
？Akano had believed until this day that her grandfather's research was ridiculed by everyone, which was the reason why it had never gained any recognition. Her grandfather had asked the military for funding so he could uncover the secret of Hinamizawa syndrome during the war. But just like the old man had said earlier, the military wanted an instant-acting weapon. That was why they weren't interested in his research. That's what she had believed. But as it turned out, the military had actually shown an interest after all. Before I go on, I need to explain another thing. You're really gonna drop that, and then you're gonna be like, let me explain the other thing. Oh, okay. Oh hell no.
Before I go on, I need to explain the Kwantung Army in Manchuria. At the time, while the Kwantung Army was stationed in Manchuria, opinions were divided on whether to advance our forces north or south. At the time, Japan had troops in Manchuria, but opinions were divided on advancing north to deter the Soviet Union, or advancing south to expand our territory and secure resources. With the Soviet Union and its predecessor, Russia, being a landlocked, frozen nation, they had long yearned for an ice-free port that wouldn't freeze over in winter. They had made numerous attempts to expand their territory southward too. Those expansionist policies were said to be the cause of the Russo-Japanese War. The history books said that Japan won the Russo-Japanese War, but it was actually a draw ending in peace, signed at the Treaty of Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Both sides had simply set aside their spears after mutually exhausting their forces. It wasn't like Russia capitalized and offered a complete surrender. As a result, the perception of the Russian threat continued to smolder. Later, the Russian Empire was overthrown by a revolution. Japan was unable to shake the threat that the new Soviet Union would advance south.
According to the history books, Japan went south. They signed the Soviet-Japanese Neutrality Pact and abandoned the northern advance. As a result, when the Great Patriotic War began, the Soviet Union was able to respond to the pressure on their German front by pouring in their eastern forces. But the Germans had managed to lay siege to Moscow. The Soviets launched a massive counteroffensive that reversed the tides of war. Even with the Soviet... Oh, no. Okay, so when talking doesn't have... Okay. Even with the Soviet-Japanese Neutrality Pact, the Soviets couldn't tell if Japan would attack them at some point. Because of that threat, the Soviets had to leave some forces in the Far East. They weren't able to devote enough troops to the German front. For starters, the Soviets had forged the Germany-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact too. Yet Germany broke the treaty and attacked the Soviet Union. To make matters worse, Japan and Germany had forged a military alliance. With all those factors in play, the Soviets naturally couldn't trust Japan to uphold the Neutrality Pact. Ironically, the Soviet Union was the one who broke the pact, but I won't go into that now.
Exactly. Hitler signed the Tripartite Pact because he expected Japan to keep... the Tripartite? I don't know. To keep the Soviets' other front in check. Ultimately, Japan abandoned the north. The superior German offensive, many supported the idea of waiting and...
waiting and watching it play out? Reference? Question mark?
They believed that even though if we did advance north, it would be after Germany conquered Moscow. However, that plan was exposed to...
Sorge?
The Soviets transferred their heavy tanks from their far east border to the German front. That secured Germany's defeat at Moscow. The Germans began seeing a string of defeats starting with the Battle of Kursk.
Oh.
It was a turning point in history.
Oh, it was a turning point in history, huh? During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was recognized as the gold... Okay, well, yeah, this is just world history stuff. Japan had earned a victory with the Russo-Japanese War, but they took the new Soviet Union government lightly, assuming that it wouldn't be able to be stable after overthrowing the Russian Empire. That underestimation was corrected after the Nomonhan incident in 1941. After several fierce short-term battles, the Soviet Union's advanced mechanized corps that led to great losses. The Kwantung Army realized they shouldn't fight the Soviets, and that inclined Japan towards a Soviet-Japanese Neutrality Pact. It's like, yeah, like seriously.
At the very least, up until the Nomonhan incident, the Kwantung Army was strongly conscious of the Soviets and divided on advancing north or south. Thanks to that, there were also voices advising caution, suggested we should avoid all our war with China in order to shore up our forces against the Soviets.
The Sino-Japanese War broke out after the Marco Polo Bridge incident, right? July 1937. Japanese and Chinese armies were staring at each other across the Lugo Bridge in Beijing. It was the middle of the night. On July 7th, Chinese army fired on the Japanese army in training as they engaged in combat. This triggered the long Sino-Japanese War.
Yes, according to history records, that incident triggered the Sino-Japanese War, but With opinions divided over advancing north or south, the army was equally divided over a full-scale confrontation with China.
So I don't understand what it is. Yeah, I guess we'll see.
No, in fact, we received orders from General Staff Headquarters to resolve the matter quietly before the incident grew much bigger.
So those supporting the northern advance wanted to settle the Battle of Lugo Bridge quietly, insisting that the conflict with China was pointless in light of their anti-Soviet strategy. What chapter is this now? We are in chapter 8, aka the last chapter, or the last full chapter. Only after this, we just have like a mini chapter, I guess, to do. So, should be finishing soon. However, those on the mainland supporting the southern advance used this incident to cause to dispatch more troops to China. They enacted hard policies against China, and thus the Marco Polo Bridge incident became the trigger for Japan and China to enter all-out war. After that, and their bitter struggles in the No Mohan incident, Japan greatly revised their Soviet strategy. How are you doing, Z? They signed the Soviet-Japanese Neutrality Pact. This novel is more confusing than the... Yeah. Even as someone who has gone through the entire thing, it is pretty confusing myself. I've always said this, like, Ruben, it just feels like Higurashi goes into way too much explanations. Like, Higurashi just rambles on too much. And, it just puts in a lot of... It repeats a lot of stuff. And, it has a good core story, obviously. But I think it's, it's just so much fluff to it.
If the Marco Polo Bridge hadn't appeared, it's possible that history would have gone very differently. Maybe we would have ended up in a war with them anyway. Or if the South faction didn't get that chance, military authorities would have kept restraining the Soviet Union. The Soviets would have had to divide their forces between East and West. And maybe Germany could have invaded Moscow. Then Japan could have gone to Siberia. The map could have been very different today.
Germany wouldn't necessarily have won the war if it had succeeded in taking Moscow. England was keeping its strength on the other side of the Dover Strait, after all, and the United States was poised to enter the conflict. Besides, Napoleon once occupied Moscow. But in the end, he couldn't beat their winter and had to withdraw. It's one of those ifs, huh? The Axis might have won the war. I'm doing good. All the extra class my school makes is slowly turning me and my GF insane. Why? What's happening with the extra class in school?
Both sides had different opinions of who fired the shot.
Oh, both sides had different opinions of who fired the shot. Yeah.
According to the Japanese side, a Chinese soldier fired a shot at a Japanese soldier who got too close to the Chinese camp. The Chinese side claimed the shot was a conspiracy invented by the Japanese military.
But the shot was fired. Even though nobody knew who actually pulled the trigger, it sparked the Sino-Japanese War. Our extra classes is random. Sometimes at even, sometimes night, or even morning? That's annoying. It's really annoying. Just not being able to have a consistent schedule. Is it every day? Or when do you have to take your extra classes? And what is it? Is it a specific subject, or is it just general? Every day. Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. That seems really rough. But, Koizumi-sensei, what does that have to do with my grandfather? There we go. Okay, finally.
In the Marco Polo Bridge incident, a shot was fired at a unit that was training in the middle of the night. Everyone was summoned for a roll call. They were missing one soldier. The soldier came back later and said that he was sent as a messenger and got too close to the Chinese camp. By the way, did you know this soldier was from Hinamizawa?
The subject is also random. What's the point of taking the extra classes then? Usually extra classes are for if you need help with something else. Not everything. Then it's not extra classes. They're just making you take more classes. It's not extra, it's more. Umineko does improve on the expedition and pacing issue. I think Daine has said that as well, so that'll be nice. Huh? Really?
Takano-kun was talking about Hinamizawa syndrome. He said that soldiers from Hinamizawa could suddenly fall into a deranged state. And we realized that the soldier from the Marco Polo Bridge incident was in fact from Hinamizawa.
And what about the first shot fired?
I don't know the truth. But I think it's possible that a soldier within the terminal stage of Hinamizawa syndrome fired the shot. That soldier was killed in the incident. Since there's no record of it, nobody knows exactly how he died.
The Japanese side claimed that the Chinese side had fired at them, negotiated with that in mind. Just a scant few days after the incident, Japan demanded an apology from the Chinese, and as a show of force dispatched 3 divisions of reinforcements. The Chinese side was, of course, opposed to that. The situation escalated at once.
If the research into Hinamizawa syndrome continued, the higher-ups thought it would negatively influence the Japanese army's claims. So in order to avoid the risk of traversing that political gray zone, they rejected Takano-kun's research.
そのためこの時代になってもなお祖父の研究が顧みられることがなかったと。
Yeah, I think that's fair, Z. I think that's a fair thing to think.
Yes, that's exactly it. The war's over now, but there's still some conflicts regarding historical recognition.
高野君にその気はなくとも、ひなみざわ症候群の研究が公になれば、社会的な影響が強すぎて、一般大衆に不要の混乱と疑念を与えることにもなりかねない。そう危惧した重鎮たちが、今日に至るまで高野君の研究を黙殺するよう根回しをしておったのは、今だから言える話だ。私も、高野君に協力しないよう、長く釘を刺されておった。
So, Z, how do they assign... Like, if it's... That's so weird. They just assign you extra classes, and it could literally be on anything. Well, like, why are they doing this? Like, what's the point of doing that? What's happening, evil slime? Takano tried to remain calm, but she couldn't stop herself from grimacing. She had just found out the real reason why her grandfather's research had been ignored. It was because of secret maneuvers by political masterminds. Those masterminds feared it so much. Ironically, that meant they acknowledged the importance of his research. Takano was saddened and frustrated to no end by her grandfather's lonely life.
だがそういう連中は高いし、もう当時を知る者は私しかおらん。もし今、まだ高野君が生きていたなら、私はそれを誤って全面的な協力を申し出るつもりだった。だが、彼はもういない。だから私はミオちゃんに謝り、高野君にするはずだった協力を君にしようと思っているのだ。
よろしいのですか？私がひなみざわ症候群の研究をすることで蒸し返しになるということはありませんか？
もう当時とは時代が違う。それに、ひなみざわ症候群の研究には単なる風土病では済まされないものが潜んでおる。研究によっては、医学の名前がつくあらゆる学会がひっくり返るような大発見になるかもしれん。
当時とはもう風向きが変わったということですわね。
そうだ。不幸にも高野君は風向きが変わるまで存命することができなかった。だが幸いミオちゃんという後継者に研究を託せた。
True. Honestly, evil slime, you're so right. You don't need friends when you have your... You don't need physical friends when you have many people just able to talk to you right there. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to do anything. You could just interact with them right there.
だから私はこの命ある限り、
I have that
ミオ
exact
ちゃんの
same
研
feeling.
究を最大限応援する。私は高野君に協力を約束したのに、様々なしがらみから力になれず、彼を失望させた。その償いを命ある限りしていこうと思っている。それが高野君が無二の親友と呼んでくれた私の
Why are they
こ
Diddy
の世に
voices?
残された最後の仕事だと思っとる。
先生、本当にありがとうございます。
いや、いい。私も死ぬ前に洗いざらいを話せてすっきりした。とにかく私の目が黒いうちはミオちゃんの研究に一切の不自由はさせん。何かあったら
I mean, you know what they say,
いつでも頼り
Riven?
な
To
さい。
beat them, join them.
助力は惜しまないからの。
Takano couldn't even imagine what kind of bond this old man and her grandfather had between them. But thanks to that bond, Takano was able to gain a powerful supporter. Tears welled up in Takano's eyes as she gave him an emotional look. But in her mind, she was practically dancing at the promise of the old man's support. The old man and Takano both bowed at the same time to show each other their appreciation. Once that was done, the old man became a little more serious. After that far too lengthy preamble, he finally said what he really wanted to tell her.
そういうことだ。私が言いたいのはつまり、ひなみ沢症候群には歴史すらも作りかねない魔力が宿っているということだ。それは日本社会すらもねじ曲げかねない。そこのところをよく肝に銘じて慎重に研究をしなさい。
I am Oyashiro-san. Well, I guess it's her becoming a god. You know? As they explained earlier in the thing. It's like, she has become... I don't know why she mentioned specifically Oyashiro-sama. Maybe it's because, like, Oyashiro-sama is the god the villagers worship, so she has become their god. But, yeah. That's what I'm thinking, at least. I don't know. Okay. Transition to evening. Okay, the groovy music? What is this? After the proprietor finished serving the food, she bowed and left. The room was very tastefully put together, reminding them of a tea ceremony room. While it was sparsely decorated, quite a bit of money had obviously gone into it. It was a very famous Japanese restaurant, where many high-up officials and other important people held secret meetings. Blizzard can't take my girlfriend in one of our extra classes. If I'm a rock, would you still... Okay. So, but, okay, I think that means... Right? Did you walk next to her one day and, like, she just turns into a rock? Or is it like, you guys never met, and then you just pick up a rock and you're like, wow, this rock looks like something I would date, you know? I think, depending on each response, depending on what she responds, you give different answers. Takano was there, accompanied by about 5 gentlemen. Still sitting slightly further away. They were clearly in a much more important position than she was. One of the men wearing an expensive double-breasted suit told Takano not to be so nervous.
どうぞお楽に、高野さん。今回の件、非常に興味深く読ませていただきました。このような研究が数十年にわたり眠り続けてきたとは。
ああ、驚きです。旧日本軍が戦時中に行っていた BC 兵器の研究はほとんどが実らず。
BC is what? Biological type thing? I don't know the exact like meaning of it, but
研究基礎もすべて米軍に接収され、何も残っていないと思っておりましたよ。
この研究は軍上層部にもほとんど相手にされなかったと聞いております。
なるほど。故に誰にも知られず、そして GHQ の追及も受けなかったというわけですな。その意味においてだけは本当に幸運でした。
高野先生の研究を高野さんが引き継ぐとは面白い。これも因縁ですかな。まるであなたの体を借りて個人が研究を完成させようとしているかのようです。
I looked it up and think it's biological chemical weapons. Ah,
本
okay.
当に
Makes
そうかも
sense.
しれませんわね。私も奇妙な因縁を感じます。
Takano adored Takano Hifumi and called him grandfather, but she hadn't revealed that relationship to others. She realized it wouldn't be beneficial for other people to think that she was involving personal feelings into continuing Dr. Takano's research. I guess that's a question for Z's girlfriend, Evil Slime. But publicly, she once had exchanges with Takano Hifumi, and after his death, discovered his research documents with his remains and chose to carry it on. At least that's how the story went.
それで、先生いかがでしょうか。
いくつかの省庁がね、
What?
非常に強い関
Well,
心を持った。
you can answer Evil Slime's question, Z.
中川君が言うには、防衛庁の技術研究本部が強い関心を示してくれてね。
What's the question? What he wrote, or what was written right above your what? According to Nagakawa-kun, the defense agency's technical research and development institute showed great interest.
研究のスポンサーを名乗り出てくれた。
Oh, there you go. I can't see you got disconnected. It's basically what he wrote before. The question about the rock. How do you even do it with a rock?
おお、それは朗報じゃないですか。おめでとう、高野さん。
ありがとうございます。
何でも向こうが言うにはね。この中でアルファベットプロジェクトというのがあるらしい。高野さんはご存知ですかな？
A drill? That's wild. There's no issue to know about something like that. It is very possible for these nationalists to research something dangerous without citizens knowing about it. Society forms something like a web made of connections between people. People hold hands with other people who share the same ideas and end up knitting a net. Of course, some nets are well known, but there are some secret ones too. There's no way of guessing just how the men at this meeting were connected. Society involving research into deterrent weapons for the next generation. The Alphabet Project. With those words, it was possible to imagine what the night might entail. Deterrent weapons. That usually refers to nuclear technology. Weapons are normally used to destroy enemies. However, the general idea of deterrent weapons is very different. The assumption is that they won't actually be used against anyone. Nuclear weapons are largely used as a threat to prevent enemy invasion. Both the US and Soviets possess large stockpiles of nuclear arms, keeping each other in check. They never actually used them. Because if they did, there'd be a nuclear weapon. Both countries would be destroyed. They're a legendary weapon you never draw. Why is that your response, Ruben? Of course, that last resort only works because both sides have nuclear weapons. If one side lacks them, then they lose all military negotiation power. In other words, nations without nukes are powerless before nuclear-armed states. That can't be true. Japan abandoned nukes and still functions as a nation today. Or some people may be thinking, but they're wrong. Japan abandoned nukes, but flies under the nuclear umbrella by allying itself with America. That means the nation functions thanks to America's nukes. However, that also means we must resign ourselves to forever being a vassal of America. In order for Japan to escape that and become a powerful nation equal to America, it must possess its own deterrence arms and step out of that nuclear umbrella. That society must have been put together by experts who believe in that ideal. Given that, even the name Alphabet Project makes sense. I don't know why I'm engaging. This is interesting to look at. You know, I don't know. It's definitely something. Nuclear weapons are weapons of mass destruction. However, weapons of mass destruction aren't always nuclear. They also include biological weapons and chemical weapons. Atomic, biological, chemical. The initials of these three make up the words ABC. That's why weapons of mass destruction are sometimes called ABC weapons. I won't go into it. Thank you. You definitely could have, Yukishi. You definitely could have. By the way, what does a fisherman do to extract info from the sea? By searching with their internet! Good one, Z! ABC, Alphabet. In other words, Alphabet Project must be a code for research into weapons of mass destruction. You're the one that said it, not me. I didn't say anything. As it happened, this guess of Takano's was correct.
本来は日本が核武装をするのが正しいのです。戦後、平和国家として確立し、多大な国際貢献を果たした我が国は常任理事国入りを果たし、核武装してこそ初めて一人前の国家として認められる。それこそが戦後日本100年の悲願なのです。
The origins of weapons of mass destruction started in Europe's military government buildings in 1905.
さようです。だが、現実には核不拡散条約により、核は大国だけが独占。また、国内世論は核アレルギーに染まり、内外からの締め付けで実現を不可能にしております。
生物化学兵器は別名、貧者の核兵器とも呼ばれる。核を持てない小国はすでに熱心に研究を進めているという話です。
高野さん、誤解しないでくださいよ。この度の研究は細菌兵器の保有が目的ではありません。 同種の兵器が他国によって国内に持ち込まれる危険性について事前に十分な対処を行うための研究です。自衛のための研究であることを誤解しないようにお願いいたします。
I was like, imagine Yuki's trolls by going into the history of weapons of mass. Oh, okay, okay. That would be funny. I'm not gonna lie, it would be funny. Just he copies the entire Wikipedia page. Like, actually, is there a Wikipedia page of weapons of mass destruction? Destruction. Yeah, there is. You could just scroll down here. And he just copy paste the entire thing.
はい、存じております。
Takano hated this Japanese tendency to make excuses, but she didn't let it show on her face. No matter what they said, they already saw the value in using this research towards biological weaponry. However, in truth, that was just an excuse as well. If they actually wanted to research biological weapons, then it would be much faster to research diseases like smallpox and anthrax instead of an unidentified disease like Hinamizawa syndrome. Everything I wrote was made BS on the spot, but ends up being true. That would be crazy. Let's see. 1905. Oh? The term has also moderately been used for a primitive thermobaric weapon invented in 1905 by Spanish inventor Antonio Muellner, considering it possibly the first weapon of mass destruction in history. Okay, Ruben. In other words, Takano needed a powerful sponsor who could back her up with funding, personnel, and a facility to conduct her research. So she used her connections and turned to the old men behind the government and economy. Oh my god! Oyashiro-sama? There's a Wikipedia for that also exists. Well, there you go. But yeah, I guess you're right. It does exist, Z. But Skibidi Toilet? I think, like, the fact that it has hundreds of millions of views on YouTube probably means it should have a Wikipedia page. Therefore, her project wasn't officially recognized by the defense agency. The people who secretly control the defense agency were the ones who knew about it. These masterminds diverted funding from the defense agency to the Alphabet Project, and they pushed for Takano's research to be a part of it. Takano gets her funding, and the influencers gets to drain public funds through kickbacks. Considering that, it was doubtful that this project was genuinely about researching the next generation of deterrence arms. It was probably just an excuse for the masterminds to funnel money into their own pockets. Well, those complicated matters didn't matter to Takano. Whatever those old men and influencers were planning wasn't her business. As long as she could get funding for her research, that was enough. Either way, Takano had found her sponsor. It was one of the biggest organizations around too. This had always been her grandfather's dream. Takano was trying to stay calm, but she was just about to jump up and down in her excitement.
中川君としては今回の件十分に研究が進んだら丸ごと買い取って構わないと言ってくれてる。まだまだ未完の研究だが、その将来性については十分に理解できてるようだ。
おっしゃる通りです。この研究はまだ道半ばで、十分な資金と施設、人材が欠かせません。
それでだね。ここからが交渉になるんだが、向こうとしてはこの研究丸ごと抱えてしまいたいのが希望らしいんだ。こう言っちゃ悪いんだが、君一人に任せるには荷が重いと考えて。
I gotta go. Okay, sounds good. I mean, I guess it depends how long this segment is, but I will probably be gone. But we'll see what happens. See you, Ruben. Thanks for stopping by. Hearing that put quite the damper on Takano's ecstasy.
私はお金が欲しくて研究しているのではありません。一人の研究者としての知的探求心からです。私に必要なのはスポンサー。先方が求めるのは成果。そういう関係に期待したかったのですが。
Takano realized she was talking rather breathlessly, so she tried to calm herself down. Either way, they'd be backing the research. Considering they're hoping for results that merit the budget, they probably feel that Takano is still too young to handle it.
分かってます、分かってます。
Oh, that's why they killed, or she killed the others, Tomitake and Iria, because she felt that they were cutting into her research.
高野さんが今日まで積み上げてきた研究を横からかっさらわれたんじゃ、それはあんまりですから
Got
ね。
a job yet? Did he finally get employed? Well, I just left my full-time position And I was kind of hoping to, because like I got a message from another company basically, but like it didn't end up working out, so I just went back to my old company, but I'm just not full-time in that company. Like I never left the company, I just stepped down from my full-time status. So I just started taking shifts with my old company again. So yes, I am taking jobs again, and you know I have one tonight. So after this, I'm hoping to end soon because I have to
そ
make
こ
it.
は
on
私
time.
もよくわかってます。もちろん向こうにもそれは伝えました。それで出てきた折衷案がこれです。
まずアルファベットプロジェクト内の新規事業として高野さんの研究を立ち上げます。
Yeah.
理事会の承認を経れば正式に予算をつけることが
Sorry,
できます
sorry.
からね。
I'm gonna throw up here. I now have the ability to make money by doing specific tasks handed to me in specialized areas, known by other words that should not be named.
高野さんには客員という形でプロジェクトに参加していただき、研究に携わるという形になります。
If she wanted their funding, she'd have to fall under their authority, of course. So far, she had no
た
objections.
だ、研究会は今回の研究に予算をつけるにあたり、い
Sounds
く
weirdly
つかの
lewd.
条件を挙げています。
How? I'm just. It's like when people say the word like in Harry Potter, right? They had like Voldemort, like he who should not be named. That's like the entire thing with like the J word, you know?
一つは先ほど先生が申し上げたこの度の研究に関する分野で優秀な才能を持つ人物に研究筆頭を委ねることです。
お言葉を返すようですが、私以上にこの研究に詳しい人物が高野先生を除いて存在するとお思いですか？
まあまあまあまあ、そこは高野さん抑えて抑えて。お気持ちはごもっともです。
You say the J word like it's a slur. I mean, you see what Z wrote? He also had to censor it.
それではその人物に私が研究を売り渡すのと何も変わらないではありませんか。全く話が違います。
落ち着きなさい、高野さん。
Those cunning old men didn't miss a sight of the faint leak of anger that crossed Takano's expression. They gave evasive laughs at remarking how immature she still was. If she still let her emotions show over a little thing. However, they weren't laughing to look down on Takano. On the contrary, they're trying to tell her to wait until the end.
もちろん、そこはあなたのやりやすいように手を打ちます。小泉先生からあなたをよろしく頼むと念を押されているんです。大恩ある小泉先生に託されたあなたを私がないがしろにするとお思いですか？大丈夫です。ここは一つ私に任せてください。あなたもそして連中も納得するうまい妥協点を用意します。
Why are we changing colors again?
と
By the
申し
way.
ますと、
その人物の人選は私が握っているということですよ。
Everyone chortled except Takano. After a moment, she joined in. In other words, he meant that he would find just the right person. The defense agency had suggested finding an expert to lead the project because they didn't feel comfortable with just Takano. However, Takano's sponsor was the one who tasked to find such a person. In that moment, Takano realized it. How wonderful it is to have such a powerful backer.
万事私に任せてください。あなたがやりやすい候補者をこちらで探します。高野さんはその中から組みやすいと思う相手を選べばいいということです。
What do you mean? Well, now you're not. Now you're purple, but why'd you swap to green? And then, or like, I don't even know what that color would be. And then evil slime swapped to red. I guess that makes sense because it's evil, so it's like, it has to be red, I guess. Takano felt better after hearing that. While she wouldn't be the official head of the project, she would end up leading it from the shadows. Of course, she wasn't an expert per se. Having a partner would actually be
こ
beneficial.
の件、しばらく先方と私の方で調整します。もちろん、高野さんの満足のいく形で決着できるようにしますので、しばらく朗報を待ってください。
はい。お世話になりますが。
そうだそうだ。防衛庁の話だけじゃないよ。厚生省の永田君も一枚噛んでくれるそうだよ。国立感染症予防研究所の伊藤君を紹介してくれてね。機材や技術についてのバックアップを名乗り出てくれてる。
Who? Ito-kun? I don't know who that
本
is.
当ですか？ありがとうございます。
もうこれは立派な国家プロジェクトですな。おめでとう高野さん。これも 今日までのあなたと、そして高野先生の地道な研究が評価された結果です。
いえ、すべて高野先生の努力の成果です。私などまだ何も。
謙虚なのは実にいいことです。小泉先生もおっしゃっておられましたが、本当に高野さんはいい方ですな。可愛がられているというのもうなずけます。
それでですね、向こうとしては高野さんの身分を防衛庁で預かってしまいたいようです。幸い高野さんは医師免許をお持ちですからね、研究本部の医官として身分を保証するようです。
The TRDI.
それは公務員になれということですか？これは意外な話です
You
ね。
drink water often. Yeah, I'm a water drinker.
アルファベットプロジェクトに携わる研究機関のほと
I'm
んどは
enjoying it.
公
I
的
enjoy
機
it.
関
I
で
just
す。
drank a sip of water now that you mentioned it. Oh, there you go. I don't know why my mic stopped picking up my water drinking. There we go. Okay.
今回の研究は陸自も強い関心を寄せており、職員を陸自から派遣したいと強く要望してきています。ですので場合によっては身分は陸自の扱いになるかもしれません。
まあこの辺は役人の縄張り
I
争
don't
い
know
だ
why
と
my
思って
neck
くだ
hurts
さ
so
い。
much.
その役人たちの上に立つには役人の身分が必要になってくると、そういうもちろんどういう形になろうとも高野さんが不快に思うようなことにはしませんから。
わかりました。そのあたりはお任せいたします。しかし高野先生がかつて旧日本軍にこの研究の援助を求めた時には断られたことを思うと、自衛隊が興味を示されたのが意外というか。
それは仕方ありますまいな。戦況が悪化していた日本軍が求めていたの
I
は
think the water
即
was
効性
DD
があ
water.
り
Yeah.
瞬時に戦局をひっくり
I
返せる
didn't
もの
know
だったのでし
DD
ょう。
water could do that to me.
決
I
し
didn't
て
know that.
高野先生の研究を見下していたわけではないはずです。
What about it makes my neck hurt? That wasn't true, of course. Takano already heard that confession from the older man. From the old man. He exhaled. For her, it was like the meeting in front of her was happening somewhere far away. She had longed for this day to come and worked so it. Finally, her grandfather and his research was attaining recognition. This was the day she had dreamed of, but she was frightened just imagining that it might be an actual dream. True joy can't be felt at once. Oftentimes, it's a delayed reaction. Takano thought that must be exactly what she was feeling.
すると思います。多分左官クラスの階級が与えられるのではないでしょうか。となると高野さんは副隊長の地位になりますから、おそらく3佐ではないかと。
これは素晴らしい。高野三佐ですか。いやいや羨ましいですな。男に生まれたからには一度くらいは自分のことを階級で呼ばれてみたいものですが、いやはやいやはや高野三佐ですか。
三佐？何ですか？
ああ、自衛隊の階級のことで三等陸佐のことです。企業でいうところの副部長くらいでしょうね。おそらくその階級がプロジェクト発足時に高野さんに与えられることになるかと思います。
旧日本軍でいうところの少佐ですよ。そういえば奇遇ですな。高野先生も旧軍では少佐の階級にあられたそうではありませんか。
Takano remembered suddenly. You were right. Her grandfather had been a lieutenant commander in the Japanese military. Everything she had done until today was so she could continue her grandfather's research. Now everything had fallen into place. She had even been granted the same rank as her grandfather. She had always believed that succeeding his research would be proof they had a tight bond. Had a bond tighter than blood. Now she would even be the same rank as him. This is fate, Takano thought. Maybe this is even a message from Grandpa. Yes, it must have been. A shout of encouragement from heaven. It was proof that she inherited not only his research, but his will as well. Takano couldn't help but feel a sense of destiny for attaining the rank of major.
おじいちゃん、私ようやくここまで来たよ。
Nobody else could hear her say that, but her grandfather in heaven could. That's what Takano believed. It only come so far. There's still a lot of things to do for this research to be recognized as a great work. Otherwise, her grandfather wouldn't become a god. He You wouldn't become one either. You must become a god. That was in her grandfather's will. I was unable to do so. That line preceded it. It was her grandfather's dying wish. Her grandfather entrusted it to her. All of his research. A god can't be physically brought back to life. A god is made in the hearts of the people who remain alive. Her grandfather's will lives on in her heart. His exploits will be known to many, and all the scholars will fight to read his documents, to steal them from each other. They will learn about Hifumi Takano, who began his research during the war. They will know that nobody understood him, that he ended up devoting his lonely life to his research. Finally, they will extol his grand achievement. Okay. No new tips, right? Damn, so still no tips, huh? Wonder why. How the grandpa died? He died of old age. Nothing too crazy. At least from, if that's what's implied. Stretching. Okay. We got through 2 chapters of Higurashi. So tomorrow will be more Higurashi. The day after tomorrow, I don't know what we do. Did you finish the game? No. We are 2 chapters in. So we still have a bunch more to go. I don't know how long it's gonna be. It's gonna take a while. But we're gonna be doing Higurashi tomorrow, and then we'll be taking a break from Higurashi, and then doing what day will it be? So today is Thursday. It'll be Friday. Yeah, it'll be Friday, and then Saturday. I'll look what I do during that time. Saturday, I don't know. We either could do more Octopath, or we could do like, I don't know, some Fall Guys or something, or we could do like Roblox. I don't know. I would think I ideally want to do something with the stream, but we'll see, what ends up happening. But yeah. I'll be heading out now. Thank you everyone who stopped by the stream. I appreciate it, and I'll be back with